What's up guys? Welcome to AnimeKouhai. If you'd like to help me out, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel.
Is second in command of the Chain Titan army.
Dabura added with pride.
And our teacher.
They declared, visibly excited. The opponent facing Alberto was Glassord, a towering giant known for his remarkable two-handed swordsmanship and one of the most powerful members of the Chained Titan army. Though duel had more magical energy, Glassord's sword skills were unmatched. For a giant, he was considered exceptionally composed and sharp-minded. Nowadays, if duel were just a bit more controlled, he too might seem less intimidating. However, his fearsome reputation still lingered from his past. Glassord, now locked in a duel with Alberto, moved his massive frame with surprising elegance, showcasing strength that set him apart on the battlefield. Alberto, despite the size difference, held his ground, exchanging blows with remarkable skill. It was a sight to behold for those aware of Alberto's prowess as a swordsman. Glassord's finesse was astonishing for his size, and his moves were intricate and refined. Alberto was likely the only one capable of matching him, and to some extent, it seemed Alberto might be the anomaly here, managing to block and even counter strikes that should have crushed him with a single hit. His resilience was only possible because he wore mythical-grade armor. If his gear had been even a single tier lower, he would have been shattered with the first blow. One of Glassord's secret techniques, his weapon destruction ability, targeted his opponent's armor. This meant that those who faced him typically found their weapons and armor disintegrating mid-fight. It was fortunate, almost miraculous, that Alberto was equipped with mythical-grade weapons, or he would have succumbed quickly to this ability. Even the three Dagura brothers couldn't have anticipated this stroke of luck. Thanks to this unexpected advantage, Alberto was able to hold the line, preventing an imminent collapse of their forces. It was ironic, though, no one realized the full extent of the threat they had narrowly escaped, as the intensity of the duel overshadowed the danger. Shion and her team watched from the sidelines while the most formidable fighters on the battlefield finally began to take action.
Yet, father hasn't stepped in.
One of the brothers noted.
Since uncle's already out there, it should be any moment now.
Another replied. They added enthusiastically.
When the time comes, we will handle it.
Shion looked at the trio in exasperation, a bit taken aback by their overzealousness.
Don't rush things. I'll be the one to face him. You three stick with the Terror Knights and stay out of my way,
she instructed. Without any objections, the brothers agreed. They weren't deluded enough to think they could defeat him, they were simply in high spirits and relaxed in their responses. Even while they joked, they couldn't help but offer a word of caution.
Got it, but you shouldn't take our father lightly, okay?
Yeah, our dad's no ordinary opponent. No matter how strong you are, he is on a different level.
The third brother admitted with a laugh.
I've never even come close to being him.
To stand before him, they knew, wasn't just a matter of skill but of sheer intimidation, his haki alone being overwhelming. Shion considered these three reasonably strong. They'd been growing stronger with each sparring match, and she looked forward to their continued development. She could sense the sincerity in their words.
Relax. I'm not about to act recklessly,
she assured them. It was classic Shion, confident and nonchalant. Though the battle remained in a tense standoff, she sensed her own moment was coming, and she readied herself.
Or perhaps, should I dive in and finish this myself?
Waiting didn't suit her nature, and she wondered if it might be time to shatter this deadlock and drive their forces to victory. As long as they could defeat the enemy's leader, triumph would be within their grasp. That's what Shion thought. Then, something shifted suddenly on the battlefield, a stark, brutal change. The area turned into a desolate zone, as death giants were flung aside like scattered leaves.
What is that?
Shion's eyes widened as she spotted a flash of silver with each swing, taking down one death giant after another with disturbing ease. A towering, lean figure stood at the center, wrapped in chains that failed to obscure his fierce, alien presence. His aura was even more overpowering than Dagruel's, and every instinct in Shion's body screamed danger.
Is that Uncle Fenn? The one feared as both the god of war and the wrathful god of destruction.
I am starving,
blurted Dabura. The absurd comment earned him yet another corkscrew punch from Shion.
Had enough?
She asked dryly. In that moment, Shion's tension eased, thanks to Dabura's ridiculous remark. Foolish but endearing, that's what she thought as she refocused on Fenn. Standing over 3 meters tall, his chains, more than his size, caught everyone's eye.
Are those the chains of GCash? That's incredible,
Shion murmured.
Gadra, what are they?
She asked.
Yes, those chains are from an ancient myth, dating back before human civilization.
Gadra began excitedly, seeing an opportunity to share his vast knowledge. Gleipnir. Since the age of myths, these chains were crafted to restrain rampaging gods of darkness. If those tales held any truth, then these chains would have absorbed vast magicules emitted by the contained deities, growing stronger over time. Since then, they had become a holy weapon of the Dragon Emperor, binding forces both sacred and malevolent. It was no surprise that these chains exhibited power surpassing even mythical grade chains in this age. Yet, it wasn't the chains themselves that were truly terrifying. The real threat lay within the ancient, bound god of chaos they restrained.
In ancient times, it's said the Dragon Emperor sealed away the gods of chaos. 2 of 3 brothers supposedly changed their ways, but one stayed wild and had to be bound by divine chains. In other words, that rampaging figure over there is Fenn, and those chains binding him are none other than the legendary Gleipnir.
Gadra's voice was filled with enthusiasm. As if to validate his explanation, the chains around Fenn squirmed and pulsed, exuding a life of their own. Despite being restrained, Fenn was smiling, almost as if he was thoroughly enjoying himself. The chains, moving independently, struck down enemies left and right without Fenn even lifting a finger. Even over A-rank warriors couldn't withstand them. Shion was taken aback. Fenn's power was rumored to rival de Gruwel's, but he seemed to be on a whole different level.
This is incredible. They say there's always someone stronger, but to think he's that extraordinary.
Shion and her allies, each with a formidable magicule count, had achieved growth beyond anything they'd imagined, yet Fenn's strength was incomprehensible. He was in a league with the true dragons like Veldora and Velgrund.
That guy's a monster beyond belief. You all don't stand a chance.
Shion declared this, aware that even more challenges lay ahead with de Gruel waiting. It was a disheartening thought.
So, what's the plan? Do you think it's unwinnable, and we should back out?
Ultima asked, sounding casually curious. Shion contemplated the idea without much emotion. With an opponent like Fenn, the balance of battle could be instantly tipped. Ultima's suggestion of retreat had its merit. Rimuru had strictly forbidden unnecessary losses. Sticking to his orders, retreat could be a viable option. With Adelman and others still holding their ground, it was feasible for Shion and the reinforcements from the Monster Kingdom to pull back. However, retreat would mean abandoning this land to a merciless conqueror, subjecting innocent lives to oppression and potentially obliterating Rimuru's vision for peaceful coexistence. Could they let that happen? Even if facing this monstrous foe meant certain doom? No, that wasn't an option. Shion knew her purpose here was to prevent that very outcome. Her resolve was firm. Fighting with everything she had wasn't new to her. She'd survived countless dire situations, and that experience drove her confidence. And she wasn't alone in feeling this way.
Ultima, what's your preference?
Shion asked. Ultima grinned, as if to say she knew Shion wouldn't choose to retreat.
That's what I admire about you, Shion-san.
She thought.
Well, since you and the old guy are so in sync, I'll take on that one over there.
Ultima said cheerfully. Deciding who would face whom was as casual as picking a dessert, their conversation light and simple. Ultima would challenge Fenn, while Shion and her top warriors would engage de Gruel. At this moment, Rumana's forces began to stir.
Well, like master, like followers. It seems Demon Lord Rimuru's subordinates are equally fearless.
Louis remarked, awestruck, and announced he would join the battle as well. His gaze was drawn to a giant with 4 arms, raging in the distance. This was Basara, chief of the 5 warrior generals and the maternal uncle of de Gruwel's sons. Across the battlefield, other powerful figures caught their attention. With Louis leading the charge, the Bloody Knights and the 7 great nobles rushed forward to confront them. And thus, the chaos on the battlefield only grew. A fierce sandstorm whipped across the battlefield. Fenn moved, his chains spinning around him, breaking countless death giants into fragments. His sharp gaze locked onto Adelman, who was directing his forces from atop the Gehenna Dragon Venti. Fenn's combat strategy was clear: eliminate the leaders. Targeting Adelman was wise, as his power was what granted immortality to the undead soldiers. With dust swirling around him, Fenn dashed forward at an incredible speed, barreling through anything in his path as he closed in on Adelman. Noticing Fenn's approach, Adelman tried to prepare himself. He hoped being in the air would provide some safety, but Fenn moved far too quickly. Gleipnir, with a seemingly limitless reach, wrapped around Venti, restraining her completely. These legendary chains were forged to contain even gods, and Venti was helpless to escape as she crashed to the ground, immobilized. Adelman barely escaped in time, but Fenn was relentless.
You're in my way. Time to die!
With ruthless intent, Fenn lunged at him. Adelman had anticipated an assault and protected himself with multiple barriers, hoping to withstand an initial strike. Yet with a single, crushing blow, Fenn sent Adelman plummeting to the ground, knocking him over in a display of pure, overwhelming strength. The impact was so profound it drained Adelman of any urge to resist, leaving him nearly paralyzed by the sheer force. The battlefield fell into an uneasy silence as Fenn effortlessly seized control. At the same time, Ultima began her move. She had prepared for this confrontation in a private discussion with Ruminez, who, recognizing the threat posed by duel, had foreseen a situation like this. With the understanding that sheer power might dominate all, Ruminez had plotted every possible strategy to secure victory. She was prepared to deploy her most closely guarded secrets if it meant defeating duel. Gracefully and seemingly unbothered by the chaos, Ultima approached Fenn as though she were taking a leisurely walk. She positioned herself to shield Adelman, meeting Fenn's gaze with a playful smile that hinted, "If you claim something of mine, I'll just take it back."
Not bad. Even I've come to appreciate Adelman's strength.
Ultima remarked. Like Ultima, Adelman held the title of one of the 12 Chaos Guardian Lords. While his role leaned more toward support, his title as Gehenna Lord was not just for show. Yet Fenn's strength was truly overwhelming. Ultima, seemingly unimpressed by this display of power, sized him up with one simple question.
Oh, I see. So he's actually weak?
Fenn, having floored Adelman with just one blow from his aura-coated fist, took no pride in it.
A big thanks to the AnimeKouhai patrons who made this video possible. Jared Bressler, Havox, Speed Saber, Curtis Loban, Judah Herrera, Just a Guy, Miss L.W. Hernandez, Jason Martin, Zach Rosen, Jerry Sladek, Ray Perez, Jay, Donald Williams, Day of Light, John M, Godman Gaming, Markithian Tidwell, Adrian, Kumo, T. Bush, JV, Thomas, Christ, Joshua Cousins, Jose Hernandez, Khalid, Christian Deshazer, Divine C. Harris, Montyboy98, Ruben, Yuki Iki, Gray, Isaac, Koala King 93, Quilly Buckner, Alver, Darius King, Normal Defate, Vicente Baharias, Joshua Andrade, L, Gary Miles, Dragon Spawn 666, J. Rule, Nate, Leiron Sangkap, Lucas Guet, Jason Martin, Christopher Mash, Charles Bailey, Sky T, Diego Ginoza, Andre Hamilton, Martin Ramos, Guy Ensley, Simon Rode, Emperor WSA, Miko Espinosa, Gobi Lin, Pratik Bandari, Faiz Mansour, Jackson Early, Smexy, Carl Stephen Bernadal, Gareth Hashimoto, Steven Madison, Vasto Lord, Marl Barsha, Ralph Ignacio, Efrain Hernandez, William Locke, Kamal Luke, Jahid Hassan Lipu, Spencer Candila, Ian Sikibiol, Thanacorn Lee Sawat, KACP9R, The Harv, Drayden Yamauchi, Alex Buthanu, Michael Brinkley, Nathan Alexander, Mario Kanoy, Karam Faraj. Thank you so much for helping out. I'll see you guys in the next video.